Hey there, you're listening to the discussion of Module 2, Types of Print Communication Materials. So, print media remains a vital component in the development of country. It continues to serve as a source of information and plays a role in shaping public opinion and fostering informed communities. After this discussion, you should be able to describe and differentiate the various print media, specifically the news story, reports, abstracts, and leaflets. So this unit will focus on various types of print media. So what is news and why do we care about it? It's easy to think the news arrives on our doorsteps or laptop or cell phone, setting the stone, but that's really not the case. According to Jack Frost 2014, there are many versions of the truth. You've heard the parable about a blind man describing different parts of an elephant. Maybe you haven't. So just in case, here's a synopsis. There's a group of blind men standing around petting an elephant and we're trying to explain to each other what an elephant is based on their subjective experience. So the first man grabs a hold of the elephant's legs and proclaims an elephant is like a tree trunk. The second man holding the elephant's tail says that an elephant is like a rope. And the third man who's holding the trunk of an elephant says that an elephant is slithering like a snake. So as you can see from this parable, the elephant has different angles. It has different perspectives. So I love this story because it underscores the inexpressible nature of truth. And news is kind of like that, with each story describing a piece of the larger truth. So no single explanation captures the whole truth. We'll see this not only when deciding what to include in the stories, but also when deciding what stories to include. So, how does a writer decide what to write about, and how does a newspaper publisher or editor decide what should be published? News to one person may not be news to another. News in one area may not be news in another place. But some people have attempted to define news based on their characteristics. Dean Spencer of Syracuse University defines news as any account of a person, ideas, or events which interest a larger number of people and is capable of being understood by them. And a definition by Luis Teodoro 2002 says that news is the most problematic in both concept and practice, and at the same time, the most crucial in the media's information function. So there are different definitions of news. It is an outlet or a platform for people, for them to be aware and to be updated what's happening around them. So news might not only be interesting to a lot of people. So the people who read the news must be able to grasp the significance of that event. So the characteristics that help reporters decide whether an issue or an event is worth covering are what we call news elements. These are the characteristics that make them appealing to a lot of people, worth publishing, or interesting. These are the elements that make news newsworthy. The first one is timeliness. People are always interested in new things. In fact, this is one of the reasons why people read the news, to be updated. So for example, Mindanao's longest bridge inauguration. Actually, I'm not aware of this. Not until I browse the internet. It will happen on September 27, 2024. So the Panglay Bay Bridge spanning 2.2 kilometers will be inaugurated. The timeliness is basically immediacy of a particular event. The next one is prominence. So this about public figures like artists, celebrities, or politicians, showbiz personalities, influencers, is always interesting, just like these two personalities. Alice Guo, a former mayor embroiled in controversy surrounding illegal pogos, has been a central figure in Senate investigation. So the Senate inquiry into pogos is now winding down, with focus shifting to another high-profile figure, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. Mentioning their names, I think that you've had an idea about what is happening to them and why they are always in the news. So that is prominence. Next is proximity. We have two types: physical proximity and the psychological. Physical proximity refers to the actual distance of an issue or event. So readers tend to be more affected by news that happens closer to them or to their home. For example, is this news. Nanawagan ngayon sa publiko ang mga anak at kaibigan ng dalawang minor de edad na nasa larawan. Kung nangyaring pagbigay alam ang kinaroroonan ng dalawa matapos silang may ulat na nawawala noong gabi ng Setyembre 16. Sila ay kapwa residente ng Macbang, Quezon. I use this as an example when I see it because I feel affected and worried because my province is in Lokban, Quezon. Psychological proximity refers to psychological distance. It refers to how reader is emotionally close or connected to an event, an issue, even if they are not physically near. The best example of this are OFW-related news. So Filipinos with family members working abroad may feel more emotionally connected to global issues, like the well-being of OFWs during international conflicts or job loss crisis. This creates levels of emotional investment in overseas workers' protection. The next element is oddity or novelty. So anything unique, anything original, or anything unusual is always interesting. For example, is the firefighters in Tagbilaran City, Bohol recently made headlines for their daring rescue of a massive python that was found coiled around live utility wires. So it was captured on a video and it showed firefighters are using their hands to rescue the python. Unusual, right? Another example is sa isang tahimik na lugar sa Negros Oriental, isang ina ang nagsakripisyo at ikinulong ang dalawang anak sa loob ng 11 taong dahil sa kanilang kapansanan. So, sino naman ng ina na magkukulong sa kanila na gusto makulong ang kanyang mga anak? Anything extraordinary, unusual, uncommon is newsworthy. Next element is the significance, impact, or consequence. So people are interested in events that directly or indirectly affect them. So recently, transport groups in Philippines, namely Piston and Manibela, organized a transport strike, a nationwide transport strike last September 23 to 24, 2024, to protest against the government public transportation modernization program. So it has impact to some leaders because maybe some of them are commuters, students, or they have a family member who is a driver. Next element is the conflict. Disunity or disagreement can be seen in news, especially when it is about wars, political debates, and court cases. For example, is the issue in the West Philippine Sea. The recent news about it is more than 200 Chinese vessels have been monitored by the Philippine Navy. The conflict between China and the Philippines over West Philippine Sea centers on overlapping territorial claims. Other element is suspense. So the unexpected turn of events generates interest in issues like sports events or athletes and even conflicts in court proceedings. My example here is the Carlos Yulos family feud over Shadow Olympic triumph. So the suspense here is that the attention of the media and the readers are more on the issue of Carlos and his mother, rather than his athletic achievements. What a turn of events. So instead that people are congratulating Carlos for his victory, readers are more interested in the feud of Carlos' family. Next is human interest. This element refers to issues that appeal to the emotion of the readers. Human dramas, stories about children, animals, or extraordinary life stories are good examples of this because readers can somehow relate to them. For example, 13-year-old Ken Tumambing rescued a stray puppy named Gunners, who later won the Spotted Asong Pinoy Award at an event in Iloilo City. This heartwarming story showcases the bond between humans and animals, reflecting the compassion prevalent in Filipino culture. Next element is progress. The development of communities in a country as a whole is not only significant but also interesting news. For example, the ADB or Asian Development Bank has maintained its forecast for the Philippine economy, predicting a growth rate of 6% for 2024 and 6.2 for 2025. So the lower inflation capture the interest of readers because they can be affected by the progress of the economies. And you are also interested because it is not a bad news. it is about progress or development of a country. The last one is humor. People like to find reasons to laugh. Filipinos are especially good at trying to find the lighter side of things to escape seriousness. Arestado ang isang lalaki sa Bonifacio Global City matapos mag-eskandalo at pagbanta ang paparangin ang makaalitan. Ang minadarig ng suspect na nakadroga at araw-araw gumagamit ito. So it sounds serious, but this appears to be funny to many Filipinos because man answered the police, especially when the police asked, ano-ano yung sumama Mori? And the man answered, nanay ko. So there are other news elements that emphasizes stories, but these are the common ones. So awareness of these elements make the news interesting. It can help reporters, writers, journalists focus on their story. These are my questions for you to ponder. Number one, in what ways do news stories influence public opinion and societal perspective? Can you think of a situation where a news story significantly affect public discourse? Number two, how do elements of news affect the way a story is reported and perceived by the audience? Can you give me an example or personal experience or anything you're familiar with where specific elements can be seen and how that influence the reception of the story? I'm looking forward for your answers. Let me see it in the discussion forum.